Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be sharing 3 lessons that I learned from meeting Alex and Leila Hormozi, because long story short, a few weeks ago I had the opportunity to venture out to the magical land of Las Vegas to spend 2 days at acquisition.com. And now, whilst they say, you should never meet your heroes, and whilst that might be a bit excessive to define them as my heroes, I certainly respect them a lot and have learned a ton from them in the business world. When I went out there, guys, they did not disappoint. I flew to Vegas, went to the HQ, 2 action-packed days as part of these workshops that they're hosting now that you might see circulating around online. And I learnt loads and thought I would share some of those findings with you today. Now, of course, please never trust random strangers on the internet. And so a brief introduction. My name is Elliot. I'm based in London. I love golf, nature, biohacking, all sorts of fun stuff. But I run a business called Botters, and we're a digital growth agency where we primarily grow businesses running ads. We've spent loads of money on ads. As a side quest from that, I get to travel around and do a fair little bit of speaking on the subject. And we're like a real team, guys. We are physically in an office, team of 10 of us now. Small business, but we're doing great things and we're active in the game. So far, across our ad accounts, you can see some screenshots here, but we are on average spending around 10 grand per day in 2024 across our portfolio of clients. And again, I just show you that to build a little bit of credibility as to who I am and why any of this might be vaguely worth listening to. So without further ado, lesson number 1 was all about solving the right problem in the right way. Now, sounds really simple, but this actually really blew my mind. They drew our attention to this matrix, the problem matrix. And so as an entrepreneur, when you're running a business, it's just an endless stream of problems coming your way. And you've got to choose which ones you deal with and how you deal with them. And the cornerstone of being a successful leader is your ability to identify what the right problems are and then actually tackle them in the right way. Because what can often happen is you will focus on the right problem, but you deal with it in the wrong way. So an example might be if you're struggling for leads, instead of looking to just scale up and add more budget to your acquisition channels that are working already, you think, right, let's launch on Reddit, Snapchat, Pinterest, all these new channels that we've never explored before and have no experience, because that seems like new avenues. That would potentially be tackling the right problem, but in the wrong way. Whereas a lot of other business owners get stuck tackling the wrong problems. And I've fallen big victim of this myself in the past, where you focus on the wrong thing, but you do solve it in the right way. Because again, endless stream of problems come your way. You have to decipher which ones are actually going to trigger the growth that we want and focus there. And it's easy to get sucked in on the fires and dealing with clients and all the other problems that arise. And so you're solving them in the right way, but they're not actually going to move the business forward. And so you need to be aware enough to make sure you're focusing in on the right ones. And heaven forbid you're in this bottom left corner where you're just focusing on the wrong problem and solving it in the wrong way, because that is where you are just wasting your time. Lesson number 2 was all to do with the theory of constraints. Now, this is the theory that they live by at acquisition.com. They buy and grow these big businesses all through this theory. And it's the idea that a business will grow up until the point of its current constraint and then no further. So again, as a leader, entrepreneur, business owner, you have to isolate the constraint, and then your role is to allocate the right resources to removing it. Once that has removed, the business should grow until the next constraint, and again, you identify that, allocate the resources, remove it, and growth occurs. And so it's this continual cycle of identifying, confirming it's the right constraint, planning how we're going to remove it, allocating the resources, and then the cycle repeats. And so again, key focus on identifying the constraints properly, and this all ties into solving the right problems, and you do that through analyzing data and asking the right questions. A quote that always stands out in my mind is, he or she who asks the best questions rules the world, and that is so very true. You have to ask the right questions in order to discover where the right opportunities lie. The third and final lesson, I love this one. It's called the what, how, and who framework for strategic thinking. Because it always occurred to me that whilst we get taught a whole bunch of stuff in our lives, at schools, at university, whatever, no one ever really teaches you how to think, how to process information in your head. And a lot of mentors of mine are extremely good thinkers, and when I question them and ask them why, turns out they don't just do it magically. They have frameworks and structures in the way in which they think, and that facilitates smart decision making. And so this was what Alex shared at the end of the first day on the workshop, and it's the framework he runs through when it comes to making decisions. He always starts with what, first of all. So is this thing, this challenge that I'm facing, is it going to do one of three things? Is it going to increase the number of customers that we have in the business? Is it going to increase the value of those customers, or the lifetime value? Or is it going to decrease risk? And so we define risk here as anything that decreases the value of the business. And if the answer is no, then you probably shouldn't do it, because it's probably not where you should be allocating your precious time and resources right now. So that's test number one. Once we've established that and it does do one of these, then we ask how. Okay, how do we go about doing this? And Alex talks a lot about his more, better, new framework, and you run through these in order. So you always start with more. Okay, if we've got stuff that's working, can we just 10 times the volume? Can we 20 times the volume? Can we just do more of it? And will we continue to get more of the result? That is always the quickest and easiest and lowest risk option, and so should be explored first. Once we've used that up and we've figured we just literally can't do any more, then we go to better. Okay, how can we improve this thing so that it works more effectively? How can we change the process? Can we launch new ads? Can we improve the messaging? How do we do this better to improve the output? Finally, if that all fails, only then should we try something new, and that is something completely different. And so, we're in the business of running ads, and we actually do try a lot of new stuff, and we perhaps sometimes default to this. And so it's a good reminder to me that actually we need to make sure we're maxing out these things first, because when you try something new, it always has a cost. Because when you go and try something new, you often have no experience doing it, or it's a complete new venture, it's a brand new hypothesis, and it's a risk that thing's going to work. Versus these other two, they're much lower risk because it's already on channels where you're having success, or things that you've done in the past, and you've got some data points to show that is a good way to go forward. So there's always a risk here, and change always comes with a cost. That is something that stood out to me from this as well. Once you've identified the way in which you're going to do that, then it's all about who needs to do this in order for it to work. It's all well and good understanding it's going to do something and then having the plan, but who's going to execute it? Are you going to execute it? Do you have the capacity? Are your team going to execute it? Do they know what to do? Identifying who is responsible for this outcome then comes next, because sometimes you just won't be able to, and actually this will have to fall by the wayside and we won't be able to prioritize this thing. Sometimes we'll have the capacity ready to go and someone can tackle it right there and then. So those are the three big things I took away, amongst many, many other things. Now I'm in the process of recording a video called the $1.5 million a day Hormozi workshop funnel, which actually breaks down the epic workshop funnel that these guys have built, that they're running at the moment. It's absolutely genius, and I'll do a full deep dive on that soon, so hang around if you want to see that. Otherwise, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, guys. We're trying to build some good connections out there. If you found this useful, you want to talk about business, share ideas, I'm always open to that. You can find me at ElliotJB. That is all for now. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Farewell.